Diego Diaz, and for my food demonstration today, I'm going to be demonstrating to you how to make ceviche. Ceviche is pretty simple to make and should take about 10 minutes to do. It should only take about maybe 5 to 7 ingredients to use completely. For the ingredients I'm going to be using today, I'm going to be using half a cucumber, a quarter of a red onion, a quarter pound of shrimp, 2 fillets of tilapia, and some tortillas and lemons and limes. So the equipment that you're going to need is pretty simple. You're going to need a cutting board to cut your vegetables and your fish on. You're going to need a knife, any size is fine. You're going to need the skillet so you can warm up your tortillas for later. You're going to need a bowl to hold the ceviche, and then a wooden spoon to mix all the ceviche up together. And optional, you can use a peeler if you want to peel your cucumbers or not. The first thing we're going to be starting off with today is tilapia. I'm going to be using tilapia for the base for the ceviche. The reason why I'm cutting the tilapia first is because I need to let it sit in the lime juice to marinate and to cook. Then after that, we'll be cooking the shrimp in the marinade as well. Cool. So first things, we're going to start off with dicing the tilapia. We got to cut the tilapia into small strips. By cutting the strips pretty small and skinny, you'll be able to get better squares out of it. Tilapia is a very good source of protein, very easy to find at the supermarket, and pretty cheap if you're on a budget. Okay, and after you get the nice skinny slivers, we're gonna go ahead and start very carefully, make sure you don't cut yourself, cutting small cubes to dice it as much as possible. Cool. So make sure putting tilapia into the bowl. You want to make, again, we're going to be using it as the base for the ceviche, and we're putting this in first again to reiterate that we need to let it marinate in the lime juice longer. It takes a little bit longer to cook, and the lime juice is going to be cooking it throughout the process. And try to get it as small as possible, because the bigger the tilapia might be, the longer process is going to take to cook, and we're trying to cook this as quickly as possible. Then the next thing we're going to move on into is the shrimp. Luckily, the shrimp that I bought already had the shell off and deveined. You're more than welcome to buy any kind of shrimp you want, and you can make sure if you want it deveined or not. It's up to you. I just did it for the sake of time to make it easier for us today. Cutting it up. Shrimp's also another good source of protein. The shrimp as well is going to be being cooked by the lime juice. So making sure, I want to get the tails off because it's not as good. It doesn't taste anywhere near as good. So we're going to use, the next ingredient we're going to be using is shrimp. The shrimp that I bought had the shell on, but they were deveined. Shrimp's another good source of protein for the ceviche, and adds another flavor into it. I already went ahead and cut off the tails, because I'm not a big fan of the tails within the ceviche, but I'm taking off the rest of the shell, because the shell is not going to taste good if you have it in the ceviche. This as well is going to cook within the limes, and it's going to be pretty quick to cook. So after I got the shells off, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them up a little bit smaller so they cook easier, because if you leave them whole chunks, they're not going to cook as quickly as the tilapia, and it's not going to be as good. It's going to take longer to get finished. I'm going to use about half the limes to start off with, so I can start off coating the tilapia and starting getting to cook with the shrimp as well. So the lime juice, actually, the citric acid within the lime juice actually cooks the shrimp and the tilapia, and you don't need to actually use a stove or an oven to cook the fish beforehand. And then it's better to use, in my opinion, to use raw shrimp versus cooked shrimp, because you don't want to overcook it. So it's pretty simple. Obviously, you're gonna cut your limes in half. Try to roll them out because limes tend to usually be a little bit harder than lemons with giving out juice. And you're gonna squeeze as much as you can possible. I don't have a juicer or like a squeezer myself. Those would be easier, so if you have one, I would use that. But for now, I'm just gonna do half the limes, and try to get as much juice covered, get the tilapia covered in juice as much as possible. After I squeeze about four to five limes in there, I'm gonna go ahead and start just mixing around the tilapia and the shrimp, making sure I get it all nice and coated. I have a couple more limes left. Then after I dice the onions and the cucumbers, I'm gonna put those in there, and I'm gonna cut the rest of those limes up just to top it off completely. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to rinse my cutting board and my knife, so I can go ahead and cut my onions and my cucumber, and rinse it just because I want to make sure you have no cross contamination. So first things first, right now we're gonna do before we start cutting the cucumbers and the onion, I'm actually gonna turn on my skillet. Make sure it's a nice medium heat. This is only give it some time to warm up. Just gonna make sure the tortillas are nice and warm so that it's easier to eat the ceviche. So now I'm gonna cut the cucumber. We're gonna cut long ways first. Put it down. We're gonna go ahead. The other two. We're gonna start cutting those into strips as well. Try to get them as skinny as you can. The skinnier again, the better, because you'll be able to get smaller dice out of them. Fun fact: cucumbers apparently are considered berries, so it's a fruit and a good carbohydrate, pretty healthy for you as well. So now that we got the slivers, we're gonna go ahead and start dicing our cucumber. Try to get it as small as possible. And we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put this into our bowl. Sorry for the mess. Go ahead and start giving them a mix. So try to incorporate it as much as possible. Fine onion. Make sure I cut this one beforehand. Make sure when you're cutting it, just be careful with your hand. And again, it might sting your eyes and make you cry. Use half of this right now. If you want more onion, and if you're into it, go ahead and add more onion. But I don't think I need this much at the moment for the small amount that we're making for today. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this over to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and chop this up just a little bit more for myself. And you can chop it however you like. You can use slivers. I want it a little bit smaller just so that it goes better with the rest of the ceviche. Again, just be careful with how you're using the knife. Don't cut your fingers. And I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up. And I'm going to put this into the bowl. So after that, I'm going to give it another good mix. Want to get as incorporated as possible. And I'm going to cut up the rest of my limes right now. Nice and easy. Cut them all up. I'm going to go ahead and finish up juicing the limes. So now that I got the rest of the lime juice in there, I'm going to go ahead and just move it around, making sure everything gets nice and covered. Spraying everything around. The longer you sit in, let the tilapia and the shrimp sit in the lime juice, the better it's going to cook. It sounds weird that you're letting the lime juice cook, and you want to know if it's actually cooking it or not. You can actually tell by the tilapia and the shrimp, because the tilapia will start to change colors, and the shrimp will actually start to change colors too. It'll start to go from the gray to the orange color that people are used to when seeing cooked shrimp. So after giving it a couple more turns, I'm gonna add some salt for taste. Just put a little bit in there, not too much. You can add as much salt as you want. Gonna finish it off again with just mixing it around. And it shouldn't take too long, maybe 5-7 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the fridge just so it stays cold. Start off with then warming up some of the tortillas. And I chose this as my carb today because tortillas are very easy to cook, very easy to go. If you want to be super cool, you can make your tortillas from scratch, but we don't have that kind of time today. Different things you can make with the tortillas is you can eat it as a taco. You can let it sit there for a little longer and make like a tostada out of it. Or if you want to cut these into 4, get some corn oil, you can fry them up and make chips out of it. They're super versatile. We're going to let it sit here for a little bit, and we're going to flip our fingers and making sure that they're nice and warm, because if they're not, they will break when you're trying to eat them. So now we're going to plate these up. All the tortillas are nice and warm. I decided I'm just going to make nice little like tacos out of them. You usually don't do that. That's quick and easy. You don't have much time. Try to make this as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and spoon out some of the ceviche. And you can see right there that the shrimp's cooked up. The color's changed. Same with the tilapia. We have a good amount of onion and cucumber right there. And you can eat this how it is if you want to. I like to add, so ceviche, really healthy. It has fish, shrimp, onions, cucumbers. If you want to add more to it, you can add squid if you wanted to. You can also add tomatoes, very healthy. Some of the health benefits actually come from eating ceviche, other than it's a lean protein, so you don't have as much fat in there. But the onions and the cucumbers are full of antioxidants, which help fight free radicals, and by fighting free radicals can help prevent cancer. So that was my food demonstration today about making ceviche. Again, my name is Zielo Diaz, and I really want to appreciate you guys for your time today.